We're going live. There we are. Hello to everybody. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and welcome to tonight's live stream. And we'll just have a little fun getting together. I made a commentariat yesterday, and I just got carried away and was going on and on about the comments. And just for kicks, I just put up the whole thing, just 53 minutes of commentariat. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from people who like the commentariat to be that long. So give me your feedback too. So welcome to everybody. It is 56 degrees Fahrenheit. 26% relative humidity. It was a gorgeous, beautiful day, except for the fact that it was windy. Look at our high-low. Our highest wind today was 36 miles an hour. It blew over the pole that I have the ARRL end-fed half-wave antenna on. So when my assistant comes tomorrow, we'll put that pole back up. I'm going to test that antenna, and then I'm going to extend it, see if we can make it 80 meters also. And then we're going to try a trick to see if we can't convert that to a 75 meter as well as a regular antenna also. And that will be tomorrow's chore for us, and we'll be doing fine. Okay, so we have Magic Man Ferran, hi Dave Bryan, Victor Alpha 7 WXZ, William Myers, KE0OG, hi Dave and all the Augies, Mike Oswald. Hello all from Middleburg, Florida, from AA7MO. Why does this thing keep wanting me to put in ads? Ted Bowman, KK7KHK. And let's see, 8 Ballrick, hello Dave from K9, ETE, Southeast Wisconsin. And Glenn Martin, hello from far west Missouri area, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 23% relative humidity. Sounds like a really nice day, N0QFT. Hello from John Ward, W3OJ. William Myers, KA8GIM. We had 87 degrees up here in northern Wisconsin this afternoon. Whoa, the snow is mostly gone. Huzzah! We have a little tiny bit of what's really packed ice at this point, still in various spots on the lot. And I imagine with the kind of heat we've been having, they'll be gone very soon. But it's April. In Colorado, anything can happen in April, so we'll see. Okay, let's see. Glenn Martin, nice, comfortable, warm spring day. Ed 12501 from KA2AHE, Ed in Old Bridge, New Jersey. Harry Rundle says, hi Dave and fellow Augies, from Harry, AC3EK in Warm, Overly, Maryland, 74 degrees. Sounds good. Ben Manley says hello. Chuck Schreiber, hello. Good evening, Dave, and all Augies worldwide. N5KVO from the hill country of South Texas. Currently 72. Thank you, Dave, for making our hobby better for all of us. And that's very kind of you to say that. I think that's probably a bit of an overstatement, but I'm trying. I am trying. I have to tell you about my latest project. I got contacted by the league yesterday, I think it was, maybe the day before, asking me to take a look at one of the technician videos I had up there, the one on RF safety. And they had two things they wanted me to do with it, quick fixes. And I looked at the video and says, no, quick fix ain't going to do it. So I'm going to rather heavily revise that video. There have been changes in what the FCC allows and the way they handle RF safety. And the old calculator that was advertised for so long, there's now a new calculator right on the ARRL website. So we'll see how it goes. We'll get that thing up in the next several days, get that thing fixed. And I'm in the midst of comparing the old and new general books because we're going to update the general videos this year too. Okay, let's see. Eddie K6 SDW, clear and cold weather coming to Ridgway, Colorado. Well, it may well be. I think we've got about one more day of the warm and then it's supposed to get bad again. James McDonough, all right, Dave, watching from England. Hello. Leo Gustafsson. KK7CLY, visiting from Albany, Oregon. Cool morning of 37 degrees and mid-50s now. It's starting to get nice everywhere. William Myers, KA8GIM. Dave, I enjoyed the commentariat. I watched it while sitting in a boring meeting. The commentariat was much more enjoyable. Thank you. Danny Breadhorst, KQ0OG from Marshallville, Georgia. I think it's first time. Dan Bevis, hello from Cocoa, Florida. K4XLG. Gary Barth, hi from Palmerton, Pennsylvania. And for YVN, Leo Gustafsson. I think I figured out that MFJ 464, I had to turn down the gain, narrow the filters, and gently modulate the volume from my IC 7300. Yeah, they're very picky. Those simple, by simple I mean it's not a great big computer. It's just a little circuit in there that's looking for a pattern. The only variable in there is the speed. The problem is that people are not consistent with their speeds. And, you know, I like the so-called Farnsworth method of sending code. Each character is sent at about 18 words a minute, but then I put enough spacing in between that he gets it down to 10 words a minute. And when people do that kind of thing, it terribly confuses automated code readers. Let's see. Hi from Palmerton, Pennsylvania. And for YVN, Leo, okay. Noah, KC1NWN. Hello from, did I get that right? NWN, yeah. Hello from Burlington, Vermont, KC1NWN, really springing out here today. New England is so beautiful in the spring. I remember going to Boston, had to go out to Worcester and visit somebody, and I was there in the spring, I was there in the fall. It's such a beautiful area. Rocky, I'll tell you that. Lots of rocky stuff everywhere. Okay, let's see. Hello all from central Pennsylvania. 65 degrees and very dry. Hey, have Florida send some of its rain up to you. I understand Fort Lauderdale got 7 months of rain in 7 hours. And everything is flooded. They even flooded the airport. There was a picture on national TV of a great big jetliner kind of taxiing up to the ramp in about this much water. It's a little hard to know where the taxiway is. Well, you get one wheel off the taxiway with one of those things and you've got a problem. Okay, let's see. Frank Medina, WP4QDA from Puerto Rico. Hello, Dave. Good evening. Optical Man Jeff, KE0KRO. Hello, Dave and all Augies from KE0KRO in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it is 88 degrees. Now, that's warm. And Rodney Eng, greetings from Minnesota, 88 degrees yesterday and today. Wow, summertime. David, AC3HT, says, hello, Dave and fellow Augies. 75 degrees Fahrenheit in northeastern Pennsylvania. Could use some rain. It's been a very dry spring for us. We'll see if you can get Florida to send some of that rain north. I I had heard they were in drought, but boy, you don't want to get 7 months of rain in 7 hours. I was in Florida during Hurricane Frederick. I was in Tampa, and that dumped 18 inches of rain in 11 hours. And that was enough to flood everything. The water came up literally within about a half inch of starting to flow into our house. So, wow. Okay. Greetings from Minnesota, 88 degrees. Low David, 75 Fahrenheit, northeastern Pennsylvania. Could use some rain. Been a very dry spring for us. And here is Michael Coulter from Xenia, Ohio, soon to be the site of the Dayton/Xenia Hamvention. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make it this year. 75 degrees Fahrenheit from Michael, W8CI. I have watched that area on all the national news where they talk about the weather fronts, and it just looks like you guys have gotten banged from side to side there. It's just really something. Okay, let's see. Eddie, I used the Wolf River 80-meter loading coil on my ground-mounted vertical with 16-foot stinger. It takes most of the coil to get me on the low end of 80 meters. How inefficient is that setup with 12 radials? The answer is not very inefficient. It's probably pretty inefficient. Your inefficiency, now the thing about loading, okay, if you have an antenna that's too short, like your whip, it is capacitive in nature. So if you add some inductance, as long as you've got good thick elements there, the tank circuit stuff flows back and forth pretty well. That's where you lose power, is in the ohmic losses in there. But if you've got a really good coil and a really good whip, you can get pretty good efficiency, can be almost as good as a dipole. Now, what you lose because of all that reactance is bandwidth. You have a fairly narrow bandwidth, so you can get on 80, sure. But if you want to get on a different part of 80, you're going to have to readjust things. But loaded verticals, the Navy did a study years ago about HF antennas and found out that loaded verticals were about as good as anything. And, you know, the space is really cramped even on those great big ships, so they would do that. But they'd use, of course, the ship as the counterpoise, ground, really. But it should work pretty well. Roxy PDA, hello all from Michigan. Dennis Cornell, hi Dave, 20 above. And Sunny in Two Rivers, Alaska from KL7HRO. You guys are getting some light in the day, finally. It won't be long and you'll be getting light all day long. It's better than having dark all day long, I'll tell you. That would drive me nuts. Ronald Lester, hello from K8ZPB. Ron in Summerfield, Florida. How are you doing in the rain down there, Ron? I just heard it was really bad in Fort Lauderdale. I don't know about the rest of the state. Paul CVK for DPC from Down Under. Hi, Dave. Greetings from a sunny Brisbane, VK land. Trust you are keeping well. Is your plane almost ready to fly again? It's getting closer. We're down to the wheel. And it's made by a company in Phoenix. And I have threatened to just go down there and sit in their front office until they get that wheel done. It's a company that makes wheels of all kinds for just about everything under the sun, from aircraft to ATVs to, you know, just all kinds of things. And I don't need some super certified wheel. I just need something that will work. So that's what we're waiting on, is that. And boy, I'll tell you, I want to get in the air so bad I can taste it. So Charlie KE0OG, hello from Republic, Missouri. Tom Bartman, 80 degrees in Pennsylvania. He has a question. If I mount a vertical MFJ 10 meter horizontally to fit in an attic, will it work best for DX or local contacts? Well, a vertical is often considered better for DX. I'm not going to say that there's any necessarily truth to that, but it is often considered better. You're going to have it in a compromised situation because it's going to be inside, and you would like to get that thing outside. A 10-meter antenna is only 5 meters long, so 15 feet. You could almost hang that vertically from a corner of your house down to the ground and not have anybody notice. I'd get the thing outside if I could. And vertically will do fine. I mean, it'll be vertically polarized. Pull the coax away from it straight for about half a wavelength or so before you start running that around. But that could work pretty well for you. Now, a half, if you're going to mount it horizontally on 10 meters, half a wavelength, which is, I consider the optimal height for a dipole, because of the lobes and all that sort of thing. That's only 5 meters, 15 feet. I mean, your house is taller than that. So you could hide that thing pretty well just about anywhere. Okay, let's see. I lost where I was here. Hello, Dave. I'm listening from Kramer Junction, where the 58 intersects Highway 395 north of San Bernardino, California. Quite windy here in the high desert, making our way back home to Dayton in our RV. Well, good luck. It takes a bunch of days to make that trip. I think the last time we did it, we took 4 full days to make that trip. And that's from Colorado. Now, if you're in the high desert there, where the 58 intersects Highway 395, not sure how close that is to Victorville. San Bernardino, I've been through that area many times, and I've seen some really high winds out there too. Ralph Leland, hi Dave and everybody, K4TA in Fork Union, Virginia. Ted Bowman says Boise, Idaho, 48 degrees. Brian Geyser, hey Dave, happy Thursday from Pennsylvania. Looking at the ICOM 7300, but not sure how well it's going to go over with the wife. Well, ask her how a really nice sewing machine, I don't know what her hobbies are, but sewing machines can cost about that much too. So I told my mother this one time. She said she couldn't justify getting a nicer sewing machine. I says, Mom, it's not a business. You don't have a cost-benefit analysis to do. It's a hobby. If you want it and you have the money, go get it. So she did, so that's good. That was a long time ago. She passed away. That's getting to be better part of 10 years ago. Let's see, Boise. Dave, I'm retiring on June 2nd after 34 years with the same company. Looking forward to spending more time on the radio. Well, very good, William, KE0OG. Very good. Ronald Lester, dry here in Summerfield. We need rain. 89 degrees today. Boy, it seems like those who've got it have got it, and those who don't, don't. It's just been a weird year. T. Klepper Newham, KC3RGN, congratulations. What is the best way to find out how well I am heard through a given repeater? The answer is ask. Ask somebody if you can get a signal report. And they'll tell you, if you're coming in good. If you really want to know, have a friend record off of his radio what it sounds like going through the repeater and see how well you're getting in. I can get in, our repeater here is about 60 miles away. It's the one most people use, the one up in Cedar Edge. And I can hit it fine. But the problem is I'm in this weird valley here where I get multipath. The signal coming back gives me multipath, and that causes garbling on the audio here on this end. And I've not yet figured out what to do about that. So, okay, Leo Gustafson, I have that MFJ 464 patched into my old Windows XP Pro, and then with the full screen of my large monitor, it makes deciphering much easier. Very good. Mike McBride, KJ6MGV, you skipper me, Dave. I'm going to have to admit, I don't know what that one means. Maybe you're 13 and you're giving me some new slang. I don't know. Mike Oswald, 72 degrees now, light rain during intermittent thunderstorm earlier today, about 1/10 of an inch of rain in Middleburg, 20 south to Jacksonville, yet heavier rainfall on the coast from St. Augustine south. So that was pretty localized then. KE4ASC, good evening all. Yeah, when I lived in Florida, we were 4 feet above sea level. And when we had that hurricane come through, it flooded the street because it was about 1/4 to 1/2 a mile that water had to go to get to the ocean. And so it was moving very sluggishly. And like I said, came within 1/2 inch of flooding our house. KE4ASC says, good evening all. Mike McBride, you circled back and picked me up. Good. Leo Gustafson, using the terminal program, yes. Warren Baker, hi Dave and all loggies, WA4BAK here from cloudy Chattanooga, Tennessee, 61 degrees. Tennessee has been in the news of late. David Brennan, I was wondering if I buy a Yaesu FT891, should I use a Yaesu tuner or get an LDG tuner? I believe LDG makes one specially for that radio, which will be a lot less expensive than the Yaesu. Now the Yaesu tuner, if I recall correctly, is designed actually to go at the foot of a vertical antenna, namely a 43-foot vertical, or actually any length of wire. But then you have the wire antenna and the tuner right there, so you don't lose stuff in the high SWR that you would get from that antenna. Now, LDG, I believe, makes both that and an antenna tuner you can put in your shack. And they make automatic tuners. A lot of people would go with the LDG because it's a lot less expensive, and from a cost-benefit analysis, you get a lot more bang for the buck if you get the LDG. Okay, let's see. Hi, Dave and all loggies, Chattanooga. Finally decided on the Diamond X300NA 2-meter, 70-centimeter antenna for my base station. Just couldn't find a tri-band with 1 1/4 meters. The one from Diamond was discontinued. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, what happened years ago, I was living in Los Angeles before, oh gosh, that was a long time ago. before we even moved to Colorado. UPS, the company, UPS, the parcel delivery service, wanted about 2 megahertz of VHF to talk to its trucks. And that was when the shipping spree really got started. This is pre-Amazon and all that. And UPS wanted it, and not that many people were using the 1.25 meter or 220 megahertz band. I was. I have an old handheld for that. Don't know if it even works anymore. Anyway, down in Los Angeles, where I was at the time, people, all the 2 meter pairs had been given out, so people were using 220. And there was a repeater I really enjoyed on 220. And then the FCC said, okay, we're going to take the 220 meter band, which was 5 megahertz wide, and we're going to give 2 of those megahertz to UPS. Oh, the trauma. Oh my goodness, the whining and crying and gnashing of teeth and pulling of hair and all of that just really started. And to read QST or any of the other ham radio stuff, to hear it at the Ham Radio Club meetings, the FCC had unilaterally taken away the entire 220 band and given it away. Well, of course, it did no such thing. It gave away 40% of it, yes, but not the whole thing. And so people stopped buying 220 equipment. They stopped using the 220 repeaters. They just said, oh, we've lost the band. We'll never see it again. Well, the fact of the matter is there's still 3 megahertz there. And it's just not used much. And the Japanese aren't helping much because almost all of their dual band radios are 2 meter and 70 centimeter. They just skip that band in between. And there's 3 megahertz of bandwidth there. Now, the FCC came back and gave 219 to 220 to hams, but only for the purpose of repeater backhauls. A backhaul is when you take 2 repeaters and connect them to each other. So if a guy talks on one, it comes out the other one like that. That's a backhaul. And that's what they did. And I don't know, I've just often wondered, people, and to this day, have abandoned 220. There's 3 megahertz of perfectly usable VHF spectrum right there that can be used, but people don't use it. What can I say? Okay, 73 from KE0OG. Hey, everybody. John K6RXD. Good evening, Elmer Casler and friends. Nelson Frost, K1NF. Worked China and Kuwait tonight. Now, Dave, live. Perfect day. Very good. Harry Rundle says, Dave, what email may I use to send you a paper I did on the program Grid Tracker? It is a nice visualizer of signal activity of my station and others when using FT4 and FT8. The way to reach me, the best way to reach me is by email, and send it to AskDave, AskDave, all one word, at ARRL.org, not .net, but .org. That's an official league address, and that comes directly to me, into my main mailbox. And I will see it, and you can put attachments on it, and all of that kind of thing. And so that's a good address to do that. There you go. Okay, China, wow. Talk Tommy KQ4AHR, good evening, everyone. I have the LDG 100 Plus. It works fine with my Yaesu FT891. Well, there's your answer. LDG kind of cut its teeth on doing tuners for the little portable Yaesus. And they've got matched tuners where you use this tuner with this radio and so on. Dave Brennan says, thanks, Tommy. Tommy says, you're welcome. William Myers, KA8GIM. Dave, I have purchased a DX Commander antenna. Can you give a recommendation for lightning protection? Just the same one that I give everybody. And that is, if you're going to put that thing up permanently, go ahead and drop a ground rod right there and ground it. And then put your radials out too. Radials and grounding do different things. And then run your coax over to right where it comes in your station. You've got your ground rod there. Put a lightning arrestor there too. And then bring it into the house. And of course your station has, I use a piece of copper pipe about that long. And all my equipment is grounded to that. And then that is grounded to the ground rod outside. It's what the league calls a single point ground. And it is technically a single point ground. So, okay, that should work fine. Gerald Hancock, WH6DLY. Gerald, hello from Honolulu. Hello. David Brennan, if I use the push-to-talk output on the FT891 to use the LDG tuner, how would I be able to use an amplifier in the future? Could I use a Y splitter? Yeah, you could. I'm just wondering what that attachment is for. When the tuner senses RF, it checks to see if the thing's in tune, and it will make adjustments if it's not. And then that will leave it in a position for your receiving. Now, if you get an amplifier, remember, the way these things are hooked up is rig is hooked to amplifier, is hooked to high power tuner, is hooked to your antenna. So the antenna does not go, or the tuner does not go between the radio and the amplifier. Now, there are some circumstances, if you're using vacuum tube equipment, where you may end up having to put a tuner in between the radio and the antenna. But for transistor radios are 50 ohms out, and all the amplifiers made today are 50 ohms in. Now, some of the somewhat older amplifier designs have got a spot inside where you can tweak the tuning for the input so that it will take the maximum power from the radio, which they will call the exciter. And that's fine. You only need to do that once. And you don't need, what you do is you check on your radio to make sure you're getting a lowest SWR going into your tuner. And you make the adjustments on the tuner side. And then you don't have to do that again. And that's only done with vacuum tube amplifiers. Okay, the solid state is 50 ohms all the way through. So, that's some kind of strange thing going on. This thing is trying to tell me how many people I've had concurrent since 8 this morning. So, oh well. Okay. Okay, Ham Radio Dominica. This is Ishmael Samuel. I'm now a general class licensee. J73 IMS. I made a quarter wave vertical for 40 with 12 2.5 radials. It works fine. Do you need more? You could add more radials if you wanted to, but it's not going to make a big difference at this point. If you've got 12 radials out there, go to 24. At most, you're going to gather less than half a NES unit. And Ishmael, good to hear from you. John Nat Reed, hi Dave, from Fred at KD8 SMO in Massillon. Massillon, it's not Spanish. Massillon, Ohio. That's Massillon. Massillon, the way we pronounce it. Your show is great, thank you. Warren Baker, Harry Rundle, I'd be interested in seeing that paper, please. Ben Manley, where is a good place for a beginner to learn D-Star? Well, I don't know much about D-Star. I've got a D-Star radio in the other room that I bought used, still in the box, been there about 3 years. So I've got to put it up and find out about D-Star. I know more about DMR than I do D-Star, and I have to say that doesn't mean much. Probably the best place to start would be YouTube. Do a search on YouTube for Introduction to D-Star. And you'll find a bunch of videos put together by a lot of people who will tell you everything you need to know about D-Star, including how to use it, how to make it work, and how to enjoy it. Now, as far as finding repeaters for D-Star, you should be able to go to repeaterbook.org or whatever it is, and they'll tell you which repeaters are where. Now, digital repeaters are not distributed uniformly across the U.S., or the world for that matter. Different localities have tended to go with different digital favorite modes. So you'll find an area that's largely D-Star, another area that's largely Yaesu, and another area that's largely DMR. And just in terms of the sheer number of radios sold, the Chinese, they did not invent D-Star, and I've never said they invented D-Star. I'm sorry, DMR. DMR actually came out of Europe originally, but was popularized by Motorola for public service agencies. And the thing is, because it's made for public service agencies, they've got lots of options in there that have nothing to do with hands. Anyway, the Chinese will do, Chinese radios, if it does digital, will do DMR. I have not yet seen a radio that will do multiple digital modes. However, this is a hotspot. I understand these people have gone out of business. It's Next Gen in San Diego. It's a pretty little thing. You can get them from Bridgecom Systems. You can get them from a lot of people, the little hotspots. The hotspot will accept DMR, D-Star, and C4FM. This will accept any of those radios. And basically what this is a connection to the internet. Okay, so behind all of these digital networks is a massive network of internet connections. So that if you go in on one D-Star repeater, you can come out on another. Okay, it's all done on the internet backbone. These things are actually more prevalent than repeaters, but these connect directly to that internet backbone. Okay, that's the thing about these. Now, the problem is, and the radio companies haven't gotten around to this, if you've got a hotspot sitting right there, and you've got a radio right here, you need about 1/10 of a watt max to just absolutely overwhelm this little thing here. But unfortunately, you're transmitting, 5 watts, maybe even if you're on your lowest power. And you got to make sure you set up the frequencies in these. there's a screen you go into to do the setup. And you set up the frequency you're going to use. Be careful in picking a frequency that it is truly a simplex frequency in your area. Because if you happen to pick a repeater input frequency, your input to your little hotspot could be capturing the front end of somebody's repeater. So that's a good reason to be careful in the frequency selection on your little hotspot. Now, if you've got a DMR radio or D-Star, even P25 and all that sort of thing, you connect to the correct backbone with this, and you can get into anywhere that you could get into with the repeaters. So you can use this in a handheld to talk to Europe. And some people who get their tech licenses really get into this. I mean, it's not just talking to a friend across town, but it's using a little device like this to explore the whole doggone world. For one of these and a digital handheld. And there are ways of doing it that are just cool. You can talk to all kinds of places all over the world. Some of it used to be they had a worldwide talk group, and they had to kind of close that down because it was just too busy. So you get, if you want to talk to somebody in Germany, get on one of the German talk groups in Hanover or something and practice your German. Whatever you want to do, there's a lot that you can do with these. I think that, I haven't done very many videos on what a tech can do. There's a lot a tech can do, but they have to do it in concert with somebody else. And a lot of techs don't ever join the league, so they don't ever get to read about this stuff. Or they don't join a club, so they never get to hear about this stuff. And they quickly lose interest in ham radio, which is a shame. A little thing like this can provide hours upon hours upon hours of pleasure. So your old grandpa who's a ham is in a rest home. Okay, no outside antennas allowed. This can allow him to talk to the world. So lots of pretty cool stuff right there. Okay, let's see. Be interested in seeing that paper. Where's a good place for a beginner to learn D-Star? YouTube, and then get on the air. Optical Man Jeff Dave, have you seen the new C-Max sport aircraft seaplane? I have not. I have not. The only, I fly RANs. When I did my final training over in Reno, I flew a Sling, which is a South African light sport aircraft. And oh, I have to tell you, what a nice little airplane. Way out of my price range, but a marvelously nice little airplane. Very easy to land. And, okay, Tommy, KQ4AHR. I don't use an amplifier to run my radio on 90 watts, but have dropped it down to 15 watts just to make contact out of the U.S. I have 16 countries so far. Yeah, if you have some HF experience, try QRP. Now, the reason that I do not recommend it for beginners is because you really need to know how HF sounds, how to get your signal in there, establish contact, all that kind of stuff, which you learn with a full power radio. And then when you turn the power knob down to 5 watts, which is officially QRP, you've got all that HF learning in your head, and you get on there and you can hear people and understand what they're saying and so on. Because single sideband does sound kind of funny, and you're not going to make QRP AM, that's for sure. So CW does work really well. CW and 5 watts will get you just about anywhere in the country. So there you go. And Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG, put the first chat revenue in for tonight. Thanks, Dave, for these Thursday night streams, a high part of the week. Great information. Well, thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate that. A random wire question, 49-1 is typical for an end-fed half-wave antenna. What wire config would need a 56-1 or a 64-1? Actually, when you get up to the 49-1 or 50-1, whatever, you're just creating a high impedance output, 2250 ohms. Actually, the end of that wire could be quite a bit higher in impedance. And if that's the case, the 64-1 balun or 56-1 balun or something like that would present a very nice match to you for the end-fed half-wave. Now, the 49-1 works. The 9-1 does not. If you're trying to do end-fed half-wave with the 9-1 balun, be prepared for lots of obstacles. You want a 49-1 balun. If you somehow come across a 9-1 balun, rewire the stinking thing for 49-1. The turns ratio for 49-1 balun is, take the square root of 49, 7 to 1. Now, usually there's a minimum of 2 turns. So that would mean 14 turns total for the secondary. A lot of the ones that I have seen are auto transformers, except the one from the ARRL is not an auto transformer. It actually has all the windings on there, although it terminates both of them on the ground lug of the balun. But that works well with an end-fed half-wave. What we're going to try and do, we've got this 49-1 balun from the ARRL that my assistant and I made. I am not very mechanical. And we've put up the wire that came with it. And it works. 40, 20, 15, 10. What we're going to try to do is something that some people have told me that they've done, and that's just extended the wire until it covers 80. And if it covers 80, it'll cover 40 and so on. Now, the trick is getting it to cover the top part of 80, 75 meters. And I got these. These are 3 kilovolt small capacitors. I paid $10 for this. And there's a whole bunch of capacitors in here. And we're going to try some of these values to put the capacitor at the center point. If you add capacitance to a length of wire, if it was tuned, and then you add capacitance to it, okay, it's acting like it's too short. So you could either add inductance to make it go back where it was, or just leave the capacitance there and let that part act as though it's a 75-meter antenna. And that would be really cool. So we're going to try that. Tomorrow, my assistant is here. We've got to put up this mast that fell over in the wind. So, okay. I was thinking about DMR, but after hearing someone on YouTube, I say not, because to me it sounded like a robot. I will be the first to admit that the audio on DMR is not the best. It's very digital. Now, this was done for a purpose so that they could cram as many contacts as possible into existing repeater slots. Okay, so, and that's fine for public service. You're okay there. Okay, let's see, DMR, thank you, Dave. Jason Moe, is it really true that hot blondes flock to ham radio operators? if you are, what's his name? KE0OG. It's another YouTuber who says he's the YouTuber that your mother warned you about. And he's always got the hot blondes and things like that. I don't go for that sort of stuff. I will be right back. I have one little errand to run. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody. I'm back. Yes, I know you see me with the water bottle here. Let me see if I can find him. Ham radio YouTuber. He's in Idaho now. Not ham radio crash course. Not ham radio concepts. Ham radio DX, best of ham radio crash course, top 10. ChatGPT, watch this before buying. And that's ham radio crash course. He's actually very good. Oh, here it is, K6UDA. Okay, K6UDA here is the guy who goes for the
all right, guys.
Hot blondes. So
you may have thought, you might have thought.
He's a character. I've met him. I've talked with him at length. He's got a nice channel and he does good things for his people. He lives in Idaho now. He moved out of California because California was just a terrible, evil state. I was born in California. I don't see anything wrong with it. But he moved up to, he's a retired cop. He moved up to Idaho where he seems to be happy. And I think his ham radio videos, the ones that I've watched, have kind of tamed down a little bit. But he's a very well-known YouTuber, very high production values, and so on. So, anyway, he's the one with the hot blondes, not me. So, okay, let's see. I was thinking about DMR. Okay, I think Dave's really true. There we go. Tommy KQ4AHR, Rot FLMBO, Rot Flumbo. Okay. Elias Acevedo, hello, Mr. OG. This guy who killed Bob Lee. This OG has been in the news, but it's O period G period. And it's an online handle for somebody who's done some things he shouldn't have. And maybe it was the guy who stole all the information from the IT at the DOD and published it. an airman first class. Although the house they were arresting him at did not look like the kind of house an airman first class would be able to afford. Usually, airmen first class are unmarried and live in barracks on the base. But he was National Guardsman, so I don't know. He was in the IT department. What a lot of people don't realize, you can put all the protections in you want into your company's computer system, and there will be 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 IT people in your company who hold the keys to the kingdom. The same thing happened with Edward Snowden. He was an IT guy. He worked for a contractor. And he got this idea in his head that, he didn't like what was going on. So he was going to take the law into his own hands and spread stuff to everybody. He's now a Russian citizen. He just recently got his citizenship. But all of these people claim that they're doing this for the greater good. As somebody who's former military and who has had very high-level security clearances in my career, I say that that's all nonsense, hogwash. And I do not have a very high opinion of these people at all. So we'll see how this one goes, because, it's one thing in peacetime to go spreading around secrets about satellites and so on. But this is wartime for 2 countries in the world and a bunch of other countries that are kind of hovering around, providing support, providing intelligence, and so on. It's wartime. People are dying, and people will die because of what was revealed in that stuff, and I seriously object to that. So, there. Anyway. Jason Mohaha. Okay. We wish. Let's see. David K3DHU. Hello, Dave and all. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG, adds $15 to the chat revenue and says, thanks, Dave, for these Thursday night streams. A great part of the week. High part of the week. Great information. Thank you. LV Code 4 says, evening, folks, and best wishes from KC0TXW. Dave Brennan, my experience only 1 year, I could get by with 70 watts or so. Sometimes I needed the full 100 watts. Times I wanted more was when band conditions were not great or I picked up far-off stations. Yeah. I will usually call CQ with just 100 watts. And then if things aren't going real well, I'll just reach over here and click on the amplifier. If I call with the amplifier, then somebody who's got a 15-watt station will hear me really well. And then I get this really weak signal there. So I like to start it low and climb only if necessary. So Raymond Achman said, made my first 5-element VHF with gamma match out of a TV antenna. Works great. Well, congratulations. I mean, that's one of the great spirit of hamming kind of things. Take something and make it work for something else. I congratulate you. Tommy KQ4AHR. I am using an FT891 with an Eagle 1 antenna. I usually 9-to-1 on it with the LDG 100 plus tuner, and that is fine for me. If it works for you, great. Absolutely great. And the LDG 100 tuner should make things work very, very well. Tom Bartman has added $15 to the chat revenue. Thanks for these Q&A sessions. You're an encyclopedia of information and wealth of knowledge for us new ham operators. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try. I really do try. It's something that's very important to me that I be of use. I've never quite understood the idea of freeloading. And, once I retired, I was getting money. I had money, but I wasn't doing anything. Fortunately, I had this channel that I could pour all of my effort into. And I do feel like I'm helping. I hope I am helping. Lots of people have said I'm helping, so great. KL1NT, Catalane says, hey, KM4OOS, it's compressed. It's compressed. Okay. Elias Acevedo, I'll make contact with you to get started to get my ham radio license. Here's what you do. Go to dcasler.com/training. That will actually take you to a subdirectory, but there will be a video on that page. Watch that video, and it will tell you what you need to do, what book to buy, what you need to do. I hope it's current. If it's not current, somebody let me know. Okay, Chipmunk Hill on brunettes. Oh well. David 502 click 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 says the clock on the wall. The one you're hearing is the one up here. The one back on the back wall, which is an atomic clock, is almost silent. But this is a tick-tock, actual, real life, genuine, mechanical movement, supposedly 30 days. Never get 30 days out of it. When it was new, I did. It also has a place where you can wind up the thing so it'll chime on the hour and stuff. And the problem with that is if you wind that, there's no way to shut it off for 30 days. It'll drive you nuts. So I'm very careful not to wind that one, but I wind the clock itself. The random wire 10100, yes, that is what I was doing. David C502 better than a 10200. That one I don't know. Okay, KC7ZXY. Dave's not here, man. Coming. Russell K4QPR. What speed name is the clock on the wall, not Presto? The clock that is back there is made by a company that does weather equipment. It's Lacrosse Technologies, and I got it from DX Engineering. This clock up here has a name on it, Castle, Kassel. But with the Chinese stuff, the brand names really don't mean much. So, in fact, a lot of the people, they've got this system over there where they've got like a factory that will make clocks. And they got 5 or 6 models, and they'll make these clocks like crazy and so on. And you go to them and contract with them for a certain number of clocks, and you tell them what brand name you want on it. It's the same with radios. They do the same kind of thing. They'll get radios from a manufacturer and then put their own name on it. And the whole idea of branding and brand names and so on is not very Chinese. I mean, a brand name is extremely important in the United States. I mean, if I buy a Jeep, that means something. Everybody knows what that means. And I do have a Jeep. But, there was a shop in town in Montrose. It was a motorcycle shop. Now, the other motorcycle shop in town has the dealership for Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki, and what's the fourth one? I can't remember. Has them all. So at this shop, they were doing KTMs and stuff like this that weren't as well known. These are bikes that are really popular in Europe. but people don't know the brand. And so they finally went out of business. So it was a shame. They tried so hard. But, okay, K6UDA, yes, in Idaho. K6UDA, yeah, that's him. That's him. Okay, so, well, not Brad K6UDO. Yeah, he has a very different approach. High on entertainment and sensation. And I'm more technical, and I'm not newsy, you know. I'm not in tight with the marketeers of the 3 different companies and so on. Now, Ham Radio Crash Course, Hoshnazi, is in the perfect place to get the latest news from the importers because they're all located in Los Angeles. So that works out really well. Leo Gustafson, Elias, if there's a ham radio club in your area, they may well be a great help in getting you started. True. Okay, Ben Manley made a resolution to get my general this year. Very good. Do that. Now, note the general class book is, and the new tests are going to change July 1st. And I'm in the process of doing the preliminary work to upgrade any general class videos that need upgrading. But do note that as of July 1st, which is not terribly far away, there will be a new question pool and a new set of videos. Okay. I got an interesting email from the League about one of the novice videos. And it has to do with RF exposure. And this guy told me to do a whole bunch of things to the video. And I went, why? And they came back and said, well, you know, because handhelds and mobiles are exempt from having to do the RF evaluation and so on. And so I got the book out. I have the soft copy of the book, and I got out that section and I read through it. And then I looked at the video and I went, oh, I don't like that video anymore. Not at all. So I'm going to redo major portions of it. They wanted me just to take a part out and put a different URL in there. No. I'm going to go a lot further than that. I want to make that video right. They've changed things in here. And oh, by the way, you know how it always used to be on this chart right here, where it was controlled and uncontrolled? The FCC is changing that terminology to occupational for controlled and general population for under controlled. And there's a lot of stuff they took out. And I still had in the video, and there's no point to show it. And then there's some good stuff in here that talks about, you know, if you've got a 2-meter radio, it's only 50 watts, you're exempt. You don't have to do any evaluations. And another little thing is, this right here is a 578 Anytone is my base station. That is not exempt, even though it's a mobile radio, because it's used in a fixed location with an antenna on the roof. Now, my mobile radio out in the Jeep, that's a mobile installation. Same kind of radio, you know. So anyway, I made a resolution to get my general this year. Congratulations. Will the new test coming out later this year be harder? No, it'll be different, but not that much different, and it will not be harder. And will much change from what I'm studying now, from what I've seen so far? No. You can study the old book and then go through the new book if you want. Let's see. This is VU2KOC. Let me see. Om Prakash. Om Prakash. Om Prakash. Good morning from India. This is Victor Uniform 2, Kilo Oscar Charlie, Om Prakash. Welcome. So nice to have you. I think this is the first time that I've met you. Thank you very much for coming and joining us. Can't remember. I think India is like 12 and a half hours. India is one of those countries that's a half hour off from UTC because they're trying to use the same time zone for the whole country. And China does the same thing. So they kind of move it back and forth until it's kind of centered. There are some countries that are 15 minutes off from UTC. US and Europe, of course, our minutes are the same as UTC. It's just the number of hours that are off. It's 01:55 UTC. I don't think Great Britain has started summertime yet. Let me know if that has. KE0OG question: QRP radios such as the Cricket or the Pixie Kit radios, which are fun little pieces of junk. What is the best way to give it the capability to switch between 2 or 3 crystals? Thanks. A crystal socket. A crystal socket. You can pull one out and put it in. You can buy crystal sockets probably from Adafruit, ADAFruit.com. They're in New York. Or Fun Kit. Fun Kit. Let me look at this. Fun Kit. No, that does not look like it. I can't remember the name. They're in Colorado, and they have little things like that you can put crystals in. But that's the best way. Now, when you're talking about a Pixie, so it's like a $7 radio. It is a toy. It's not a serious radio. I mean, yeah, you get it. You'll have a QSO or 2 on it, show it around to everybody, and then put it on the shelf. If you're really looking for a QRP radio kit, go to, let me just do this here, QRP Labs, okay. And the one you want is the QCX Plus 5-watt CW transmitter kit. Now the 55 is without the case. So you got to pay for the case too. Okay, read more. Here it is, 55. You can also get it different types of things: assembly, operating instructions, firmware, what's the difference between the different models, so on and so forth, the ARRL review. It just goes on and on and on and on. And this is a single band kit. You choose the band. You can get it for 160, 80, 60, 40, 30, 20, or 17. Get either 40 or 20. If you really like CW, you might try 30. I do have a 30 QRP radio, but not this one. This radio right here, and I say the Plus, because the Plus is made with a bigger component board so that it's easier to insert the parts and solder them. Whereas the original QCX and the QCX Mini were really more advanced kits, but this kind of kit is a good kit. It will take you a while to put together. If you've not done this before, I would do it with a ham friend or somebody who's a maker, knows how to solder and all that kind of thing. Makers are people who like to play with electronics, who should be hams but aren't, because they don't care about radio, they just care about the Tinker Toys. And this is definitely a Tinker Toy. It's a really good one. Anyway, that is a serious QRP kit. Now, they've got a new radio out, the QDX. What's the QDXM? Single band. Oh, that's the single band version of it. What did I do? QDX digital. This is a multi-band, 5-band, but it only does FT8. And it's a 5 watts on FT8, and it's become very popular. I got one sitting over here. I just need to build it. It's right here in this box. I just have to build it. So anyway, there are some really good QRP kits out there on the market. Okay, let's see. QRP. Yep, rolling on the floor laughing. Okay. Hi, Dave. Oh, okay. Thank you, Tommy. Hi, Dave. Let's see the random wire. Okay. Endo Tooth, our dentist. Hello from North Alabama, KG4HVQ. Luis Sanchez, what do they mean by matching unit or network has a wide range versus the lead range? When you're talking about a tuner here. A tuner that will match a misbehaving antenna to your radio. The modern transistor radios want to see a 50 ohm load. And you give it something other than that, they don't like it. In fact, if they don't like it very much, they'll just shut down. A lot of them have tuners in them, narrow range tuners. It will tune out, meaning tune up to a 3-to-1 SWR, which means that the antenna is not very far away from being right. A wide range tuner, like the LDGs and the MFJs and so on, will go up to 10-to-1 SWR and match it. Now, I will tell you that, in general, you're better off fixing your antenna. Okay, you're better off fixing your antenna. But there are some antennas, like, for example, a rhombic is 800 ohms. It just is. So you bring the 800 ohm feed line in, attach it to a wide range tuner, and attach it to your radio, and it'll work fine. It'll work fine. So the wide range tuner, like for example, when I had my Ten-Tec, it did not come, it can come with a tuner, but mine did not. So I had the MFJ 293? No. Whatever. I had an MFJ automatic tuner that I used with that was a wide range tuner, and that would tune anything. And I had at the time a big loop antenna, an 80-meter full wavelength horizontal loop fed with ladder line, and that tuner would tune it just fine. So very good. Okay, so that's Louis, that's what those things mean. Wide range means it can tune in a worse antenna and match it to the radio than a narrow range, which can't. Okay, nature calls. Yes, it did. Optical Man, Jeff, KE0OG, Dave, do you know of an inexpensive mag loop antenna for indoor use for RSP1A? They're not inexpensive. There are 3 to look at. There's the MFJ, which has the loop, a wideband loop, and a preamp. There's the Chameleon, which has the loop and a preamp. And they have really taken great pride in that preamp. It can be right next to a transmitting antenna and not blow up the preamp. Then there's the W6LVP, which is made not of a tube, but of a piece of coax stretched around. And the nice thing about that is you can disassemble it and put it into a dispatch case so you can take it with you. Now, you do not have to tune these antennas. They are broadband antennas, and they have a preamp in them. And it will work very well with, I've got it right here, the SDR Play RSP1A, Radio Signal Processor 1A. Works very well with it. Now, I just took down my MFJ receive loop. I had it up to compare it with the Chameleon. And they're about the same. I mean, they're both very nice antennas. I took down the MFJ today and put it in the garage because we're using that mast for the experiments with the ARRL 49-to-1 Balun. So I still have up on the roof the Chameleon one. Now these can be put anywhere you want, but like any antenna, height matters. Okay, they are very directional. They have a deep null, dead on, looking through it. So if you get the circle here, looking straight through it, you've got a null pointed that way and a null pointed that way. Can you flip it and put it horizontal? Yes, it becomes omni that way, but most people don't. What they will do is try and rotate them so that they can null out a station they don't want. Now, note that it's a cardioid pattern, a double cardioid, figure 8 pattern. And so the peak is very, very wide. You can't use it to tune in on a station, but you can put a very sharp null on a station. So in that sense, you can use it for direction finding to some degree. There are lots of different ways to do direction finding. Okay, so hello from North Alabama, KG4HVQ, Lou Sanchez. Okay, we talked about that one. Optical Man Jeff. Okay, that was the mag loop. None of those are terribly inexpensive. Look at the W6LVP. You're going to pay, let's just look at the W6LVP because it might be the least expensive of them. W6LVP receive only HF loop, amplified receive only loop. Okay, there it is. See, it's $400. Now this thing is designed with this little thing here, and here this one has a rotor at the bottom. I don't think the rotor comes with it. This box right here allows you to transmit through your normal antenna and then receive with this one if you want. And it keeps them from getting all confused with each other. So you've got basically this loop. This comes off, this part collapses, and you can put it in a dispatch case. And here's the little thing right there. And oh, this one has a little stand for it. The one I got, I don't think came with a stand. That was a long time ago. Okay, let's take a look at the Chameleon. Chameleon antenna, Sparks, Nevada. Okay, here is the, now that's a transmitting loop. Here is the receive RXL antenna. That's their model number, RXL. Same kind of thing, okay. You've got a little box that's got a little clamp on the bottom of it. And I think this is their facility. And although I don't think that's the Nevada one, I think that's the California. Their factories in California, then their showroom and shipping and final assembly is in Sparks, Nevada, near Reno. Okay, so that's theirs for $382. And then there's the MFJ. And the problem with their search, you got to spell it just right. Receive. Here it is right here. This one right here. 359. And this has got the same little preamp in there. And you feed the preamp with what's called a bias T. So that gives you an idea of what you're up against. Now, what I found works with the RSP1A also is just a long wire. And it doesn't need to be long. It could be like 30 feet long or something like that. Just enough to bring the signal in. So, okay, let's see. Thank you, Mr. OG. Thank you, Leo from Elias Acevedo. Bruce Cash, KI6LQE. Your thoughts on electret condensers versus dynamic element microphones? Is one better than the other? No. It's like asking which is a better orange. This month's issue of QST is all about microphones. This is the April issue, and they go through all the different microphone types and so on. Now, I happen to have that one. That's a very old mic, like 60, 70 years old. But take a look at the latest issue of QST. They've got a very nice article about microphones. Now, I was talking to somebody who had, if we go to Heil, we're going to go overtime. Heil, H-E-I, Heil sound. Okay. And getting to the amateur stuff's a little hard. You got to go all the way to the bottom. And about us, and somewhere in here, boy, that's an old picture of Bob Heil. And there he is, a little. He does mostly sound. He does a lot of rock and roll bands and stuff. Oh, where am I going to find? Heil ham radio. There it is. Now, he's got these headsets, the Pro 7 and the Pro 6. Here's headsets, the Pro Set 3 stereo, the Pro Set Media Pro. He's got different ones. These are aviation style almost. These make great sets, the Pro Set Elite. And another thing that he talks about, like microphones, product compatibility guide. There's some way to get radio manufacturer, ICOM, radio model 7300, where is it? Okay, product type, headset, model, I think the Pro 7. That's the adapter cable. Here's ICOM, radio model 7300, product type, headset. They've got all these different, and they use these electret for the ICOM. I'm not going to get one of these because I think these are aviation headsets, and I use them in aviation, and they're not the world's most comfortable things. I might get one of those because I don't have an active headset for what I'm doing right now. I've just been using the mic that's on there. Okay. So anyway, that gives you some idea. This article will explain it to you. I don't know that I can really get more specific. The fact of the matter is people are highly particular about their microphones. You've got to, like when I used a Heil type microphone with my ICOM 73, or my Yaesu FTDX 3000. I had to go in and set a gazillion settings inside to get the right curve so I could get nice compressed DX and still sound good. And it was a lot of work to make that happen. Okay, let's see. Hello, Dave from Utah, from V, W7IBB. Steve Genoway is going to try and get his extra this year. Good luck. Andy Cowley, great show, thanks. Harry Rundle. Hello, Harry. $10. Thank you for your Q&A evenings and videos, so I always learn something new, and you do a great job conveying the technical info of ham and not ham, the subject matters. Andy Cowley, yes, we have started summertime. Okay, so they are +1 UTC, so it is now 3:15 in the morning in the UK. Brian Rose have a MAT 30 and FT891 and unable to get tuner working. Any ideas? Tried everything I know so far. I don't know what a MAT 30 is. Brian also includes $10 without a comment. Thank you very much, Brian. That goes into the chat revenue. Try and see if you can get your FT891 to go into a dipole. Just string up a dipole and adjust the dipole till you get close to 1.5 to 1 SWR, and so that you'll know the radio works. And then the MAT 30, find the instruction manual on the internet and see what you can do. Okay, Mike McBride, KJ6MGV. Amazon has several knockoffs of the FJ849, which I have one. Obviously, at a lower price. Should I just stick with the higher price? MFJ for product support? That's up to you. It is made in China. I do recommend you buy through MFJ to support our American suppliers if you want. Just wanted to say thanks for everything, Dave, your wealth of information. When do they update the general class? Next year. 73 to everyone, Glenn. Okay, just sent through a Bob Heil presentation. Very nice and smart guy. He is that. I've met him a couple times. Yes, the thing about Bob Heil's headsets is you've got to have the noise reduction. Private aircraft, like mine, environment is incredibly noisy. So you've got to have really good aviation headsets to keep the noise down. Love your videos. Just joining in. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you to all of you. We have had a wonderful time together this evening. So it's one of my favorite times of the week when I can get together with you and we can chat about ham radio and whatever else comes up. And the subject matter is endless. I mean, ham radio is really many hobbies, all involving radio. And people find different things to do with it. Some people just like to tinker. Other people just like to rag chew. I mean, there's room for everybody in ham radio. So, until we next meet next week, and I'll put the reservation in for it now, I will say to all, 73.